winter break, I traveled to India to visit family. By the end of my trip, my grandmother pointed out some old boxes she wanted me to organize. I grabbed the boxes, sat down on the marble floor in my grandparents' apartment, and started going through them. These boxes weren't the cute kind you organize for fun. They were the heavy ones, the dusty ones that make you sneeze and rethink your life choices. They'd been stacked in a cabinet, half open, like they'd been waiting for someone to finally care enough to look. Inside were random objects. On discolored pages were scribbled variables written beside blueprints. Chipped college degrees from IIT and engineering grade reports. Passports with stamps from Algeria, Australia, and many other countries. But for some reason, holding these objects felt heavier than the boxes themselves. I remember sitting on the marble floor, surrounded by all of it, thinking, who was he before he was just a memory? Just a story. That's when I started thinking about my grandfather, Nana. Now, when we hear the word legacy, we usually think of something big. Money, status, something we can point to and say, that's what they left behind. But Nana didn't leave anything behind that obvious. He didn't start out successful. He didn't grow up with money or connections or some grand plan. In fact, he came from a small little village called Ramtirtha. His family had their own farm, but Nana had bigger ambitions than that. He worked his way up to bigger and better schools and eventually attended IIT, a world-renowned college for engineering. But at one point, Nana wanted more than just a proper education. He wanted to create a company that designed, developed, manufactured, and executed custom-built equipment for submarine batteries. But he didn't magically wake up one day as a successful entrepreneur. He learned by failing. He worked hard at night after his 9 to 5 with his brother in a small, cramped room. Sitting in white linen in 90-degree heat, Nana designed different ideas on leftover paper while his brother crunched numbers on a barely working calculator. Though Nana strived for a challenge. Every day he charted into unfamiliar territory, chasing daring ideas within the world of engineering. But his brother saw things a little differently. Less interested in the thrill of innovation and more focused on creating something that would last. The two would often pull in opposite directions, and every risk Nana took became a new argument waiting to happen. Though despite these challenges, Nana created something new. Without commercial support or major recognition, Nana consistently showed up. No one called it grit or hustle culture during my grandfather's time. It was just life. You worked because you had to. You kept going because people depended on you. Today, we give that instinct a name. Angela Duckworth, a fellow TED speaker, popularized and defined grit as passion and perseverance for long-term goals. In fact, she makes a metaphor that grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. We talk about grit like it's something special or rare, like a trait people are lucky enough to have. But what my grandfather lived wasn't a trend or a theory. It was a necessity, a way of life. Nana didn't push through because it was inspiring. He pushed through because people were counting on him, and stopping simply wasn't an option. And without realizing it, that way of living became his legacy. It passed to my mom. I see it in the way she works, the way she never does anything halfway, the way she carries responsibility like it's normal. The same thing with my uncles. Different careers, different paths, but the same intensity. The same belief that effort isn't optional. Growing up, I didn't question it. I thought that's just how adults were. But it wasn't random. It was inherited. Not money, not land, but a mindset. That moment on the marble floor made something click for me. Those boxes and papers weren't just memories. They were proof. Proof that the life I'm working towards didn't start with me. I think about that when I'm tired, when I don't feel like studying, when something feels overwhelming and quitting feels easier. Nana didn't quit when the stakes were way higher. He didn't know if things would work out, but he worked anyway. Now, I want to be a lawyer. That's easy to say as a high school student, right? But the harder question is, when does that dream start becoming real? At 16, I can't study for the LSAT or work at a big law firm. I can't skip ahead to the end. But what I've learned is that dreams don't begin with big titles. They begin the same way Nana's did, with small steps taken seriously. So I started where I can. As Vice President of Olentangy Model United Nations, asking a room full of 700 delegates to refrain from speaking. As a League of Women Voters volunteer, walking around on the hottest day of summer, spreading advocacy and registering people to vote. Even as a senior premier dancer at Powell Dance Academy, consistently showing up to 4-hour rehearsals every single day. Through small events, short meetings, and assertive messages, I'm learning what it means to show up, commit, and work, even when no one is watching. None of it feels monumental, but neither did Nana's first steps. He built something from almost nothing. Slowly, quietly. No speeches, no applause, just consistency. Now, this story might sound small to you. One man, one family, but that's the point. Big change doesn't always look big when it starts. And that's where I realized that my dreams aren't just mine. They're built on sacrifices I didn't personally make. And that's not pressure, that's motivation. At first, the boxes felt heavy because of the objects within them. But now they feel heavy for different reasons. Because what mattered most was never something you could hold. Inside was a mindset, a discipline, a way of showing up even when no one is watching. Something like that can't stay inside a box. What my grandfather built didn't end with him. It didn't stay in those documents or those notebooks. It carried forward to my family, to me, and into every dream I'm still working towards. Thank you.